The Korea is quite the small country in terms of the size of the land, but not that small, but a little bit small against the average land size of the world. And the size of the Korea is 50, no, I'm sorry, 100,000 square kilometers, which is, in terms of the size, very similar to the land size of Bulgaria. We have the very similar the land. At the same time, the population is 51 million, pretty dense in terms of the density of the population. It's quite high. And according to IMF, the statistics, in 2019, Korea's ranking of the GDP is 11th largest, and size of Korean economy is the 11th largest in the world. And Korea is one of the members of 30-50 club in GDP and population-wise. 30 represent 30,000 per capita, and 50 is the population the size over the 50 million. And so in that regard, Korea is one of the 7 country in the world, including many countries, United States, Japan, UK, and France, and Italy, and etc. So that the Korea has been reached some certain the level in terms of the size, in terms of the economy. Importantly, the Korea is very much emphasized so far on trade, because size of Korean, the GDP as a total is about 1.9 or the trillion US dollars, but about 1.1 and 1.2 the trillion is taken account in the GDP, the trade. And so the volume of the trade is comparatively the big compared to the countries. And so in that regard, we call it Korea is export and import driven the country for their the economies. But at the same time, the Korea has a very, very strong emphasis in guarding their economy against the significant adverse development. Korea has went through when the Asian financial crisis was taking place. And so in response, the Korea has built large buffers in financial and the economical the sectors by the setting up some kind of the financial mechanism to boost or to protect from the fluctuation with regard to the international finance. Let me a little bit more on that. After 1997 Asian financial crisis, in which Korean economy went through unprecedented hardship, Korea created strong financial measures to prepare for the fluctuation and turmoils in international financial conditions, including the speculative the investment and the lack of the foreign currency, which has been negatively affected by the speculative the actions by hostile the investment from outside. And so taking the opportunity they're going through the hardship in the financial sector, the Korean economy and Korean government, they're trying to they make their the protective measures, not the protective for trade, but protective to the hostile, the speculative action from outside, and making their the financial system as as strong as possible, making the financial sector the more transparent, and as making the financial sector more the openness to the outside. And so that is a very the important area of policies as a country with heavy the focus in trade. And also let me visit once again to 3050 Club. If I'm going to take more close eyes on it, there are so far only 7 countries in the world, as I mentioned, which surface so $30,000 in per capita GNI, and at the same time, they have more the 50 population. And those the countries have the great influential the powers on the global economy, and so it is not some kind of the formal organization, but the the conceptual organization that we have in our mind in terms of the sharing of the global economy, also the level of the faction. So those countries are US, Japan, Germany, UK, France, and Italy, and Korea. And so Korea, the latest member to join, but we saw that our economy is growing, driven by the trade. Economic, the growth and the distribution. With respect to economic growth, Korea has maintained a stable annual economic growth rate about 2 to 3%, and its income distribution is relatively balanced according to its Gini coefficient, as you know, which is a gauge of economic equality. The Gini coefficient range from the 0 to 1. 0 represents perfect equality of everybody share, is very much the same with others, and the 1 the represent perfect inequality, and the richest have all, the poor have nothing, and this is the situation the Gini designate as a 1. And Korea's range is about 0.35, which is quite low compared to other the OECD member countries. We thought that the social the policy has been the quite the balanced way in terms of the implementation. But as the economy growing, the bipolarization between the riches and the poor is the widening, and so another sort of the policies that could be prevented for the reducing this kind of the adverse sort of the policy consequences, and also technology and the companies to emphasizing the technology are very important in Korean economy. After the recovery of hard hit that Korea had suffered in the late 1990s, which I already mentioned a bit, Korea has become the birthplace of the rising global scale the technology companies, such as Samsung Electronics, LG, the Hyundai Automobiles and Hyundai Heavy Construction, and Kia Motors, and SK Group, the telecom and the semiconductor company, and POSCO, one of the leading the steel maker in the world, and we have many. Just the name of the few companies that we mentioned. We can see the major the Korean producers in the global economy by the reading the Fortune 500 list. The list, Fortune 500 statistic displays the leading Korean companies on their list ranking. That means that the 500, the biggest the companies in the world are all listed. The by revenue term, the year in 2019, the largest Korean company as measured by revenue was Samsung Electronics with a revenue of about 221.6 billion US dollars, and followed by, which is the world 15th, the largest company by size, and followed by SK Holdings with a revenue of about $100 billion. And all others, about the 15 companies are listed among the 500 biggest in the world. By product, the semiconductor, for instance, the several Korean companies, including Samsung and SK, have been taking top spots in the field, especially for the sales rankings. The Samsung Electronics is leading the world, and the SK Hynix takes the third, and the LG and many others are participating in the leading the position in the world. I think that many of you have interest in the 5G network, and many of the people thought that it is led by Huawei, but it is true. But the partly the other dimension that could be also mentioned. Korea is the first country in the world to commercialize a 5G network, and Korea launched the 5G the service April last year, which is the world first the event in terms of the commercializing the 5G on the ground in service. Korean companies, the launch at the time the Korean companies launched their 5G the service, they just presented the merits and demerits in practical way. And so it presents a great lessons to all the companies who have something to do with the communication, and based on the 5G, they learn a lot. And so it is also the good occasion for Korea to demonstrate the real 5G service on the ground at the time, the giving an opportunity for all the global companies to take a lesson. The regard to Samsung and the LG are major 5G standard essential patient holders, the essential the technology, the companies as written, as indicated in the global the newspapers and global the research papers, along with US Qualcomm and European Ericsson and Chinese Huawei. And so the competition in the productive, the right direction is very fierce, and then end up that we're gonna expect the good the result out of the serious competition for making the better the service. Let me go for the several the area which the Korea lead the world in terms of the manufacturing. There are many the number one items which Korean companies produce as the leader of the industry in that field: shipbuilding and smartphone, OLED panel, ultra thin the TV, and LCD panel, and all of them are number one the industry that Korea leads the world. So another implication that I would like to emphasize on is that the area that I mentioned is the area that we're gonna think of the futuristic the technology. And so all those the futuristic technology, the Korean companies have their leading role in the world, where they make a very bright, the perspective for the Korean economy in terms of finding, the opportunity for being the more the comprehensive for the progress. And we may also look at the report, which is produced in 2019, Nihon Keijai Shimbun, the Nikkei, one of the Japanese leading the newspaper, the media, that of the world 74 cutting-edge technology product, which selected by the Nikkei, Korea has the world's top market share in 7 products, tied for 3rd position with Japan. Number 1 is United States with 25 items, and China ranked number 2, 12 items, and Japan and Korea tied with the 7 items in the 3rd position. And we can see that this Nikkei report, from the report, that the how Korea, be well prepared for the changes in the technology field for the future. And innovation is the driving force to make the Korean company be very much familiar with the changes and also very much prepared for the changes and transformation. The foundation for Korea's transformation and change from a developing country to a high-income country was the driving force of strong innovation that enabled us to make breakthrough. Without breakthrough, we would not be able to catch up the country, the company, the way ahead. So innovation is going to be a real, the changing factor to let the company and country to be able to, to make a real transformation by nature. Come to think of it, not many have turned from developing countries to high-income countries so far, as we've seen some industrial history of it. Innovation is linked to various factors, such as education, freedom of market economy, transparency of the transactions, and the good rule of law, and also financial market function and openness. But it is also largely related to the desire and competition and enthusiasm of individuals and organizations to improve. We can see these kind of actions. The news that the many younger the generation, they're trying to make their startup by taking a new the technology in order to tap on the potentials and possibilities in the area that nobody has already prevailed. And so that this kind of innovation that will make younger generation more prepared for the changes which will be taking place in the future. This is the previous one, please. This is the ranking. I'm sorry to reiterate many rankings, but they're trying to get it the more pragmatic the perspective. 2019, the Bloomberg Innovation Index, #1. Korea takes #1 position for the 6th year in a row, followed by the Germany and the United States and Switzerland and Israel, all of them regarded as a very innovative country in terms of the developing and the creation for the new technology. And so We are very proud of it, but this opportunity, the list, implies that how well the country is listed are prepared for, as I mentioned, the future to be taken in the future. Here, the next, the slide of presentation is the process of Korea's economic development. And many the researchers and students have, been wondering what is the policy measures to make Korea, possible in transforming themselves to the other dimension by nature. So the many discussions, but this discussion, that I just brought is based on the political economy, which many the professors and many the students the studies, and so this is quite objective perspective in terms of analyzing Korean economy way. The Korean economy, which was once exploited by Japanese colonial rule, was completely destroyed during the Korean War, which took place 1950 to 53. Shortly after the liberation from Japanese occupation in Korea, no way but being poor, because as you are well aware, the national government in place. No country could be could be prosperous. And so Korea is the one of them before and right after the Second World War. From the ruins of the Korean War, which is some kind of the demonstration that how serious the Cold War between communist region and the free economy, the region compete. The Korea 4 now came to become the world's 11th largest economy from 2010. This remarkable economic growth was possible due to diverse factors, such as state-led economic development plans. The government is in the core position when it comes to the planning the economic plan. But government let the business do whatever they want to. If the business activities are based on the rule of law and based on the common understanding that the economic action is very much beneficial, not only for their own interest, but only for the prosperity of the country and of the region at the same time. And also the export-oriented policies, which promote some of the Korean companies be grown to the global level in order to have the capacity, enough capacity to compete with the global players at the same time. But it is very, it was very difficult for the developing country to make their company, available for the international market as a leading the company, so that no other option but invest huge in the area of the export oriented the strategies. And also investment in human resources and infrastructure, economic policies in favor of efficiencies and strong work ethic, widely shared by workforce, and also the transparencies based on the rule of law. Those are the key elements that Korea enjoyed much, and Korea have emphasized much during their time of development. So you can see the exponential growth of Korea's GDP per capita on right column between 1950s to 2010. And right below, about less than 100 annual the per capita income for Koreans. That time, that was the world lowest the income level, even compared to African countries. But now, as I told you, the Korea around 31,000 per capita GDP. Last year, the year before, is one of the richest in terms of the income level in the world. Next slide shows how the Korea make their growth. And I just skipped this because I already mentioned several times on that. The slide is about transformation. And I remember that I reiterated several times with the emphasis on the transformation and changes. So let me go a little bit more on that in order to let you understand what kind of policy mix can take place in Korean economic policy. Just 30 years ago, Korea was a typical developing country, very, as the typical as you see in many countries. But difference with other typical developing country with Korea is that no country so far, they really make a difference from the status of the developing country to the status of a high-income country by nature, and by having the diversified, the leading industries at the same time, the global level, the companies in their the portfolio, and so that the development, the trap, as the many researchers in the field mentioned, is the field that Korea so far overcome quite successfully. So from the 1960s to 1980s, the Korean government implemented state-led industrial policies, emphasized the importance of human resources by investing a lot in the education sector, and also the social infrastructure and physical infrastructure, such as airport and factories and the roads. Many massive size taken by the government in cooperation with major the Korean conglomerate the companies, and also as I mentioned, the strong and work ethic as one of the essential elements, all of which led impressive economic output of Korea, in my understanding. These features combined with the systematic industrial transformation, that is the key element for the developing countries to be able to catch up with an advanced economy by overcoming the hurdles in the type of patent, in the type of already occupied human resources, and by overcoming the technological lackness in the field. And so many things to be taken as very serious challenges, but the strategy set by the country in cooperation with industry is quite an element to overcome as a factor. So Korea's the transformation, the path and formulas were modeled after other developed countries when it started the East journey in 1970s. For example, from light industry to heavy industry, from service industry to finally technological and capital-intensive industries. This is the way that Korea took as their the mainstream industrial policies. And also step by step for making the changes happen on the ground when it comes to realizing the breakthroughs, which enable the economy to overtake the countries with early start in the industrialization by skipping the process, such as substitute for their the export in the country by setting up the trade barriers. And Korea, have not taken any the sort of similar the policies of protective the trade the measures, etc. And Korea trying to go as often as possible in terms of import and in terms of output as a return. And Korean company, well, even though very difficult, but Korean company ended up having the competitiveness against the world top class industries trend. We found that no leapfrogging or shortcut was possible in achieving the economic development because the advanced learners deprived the late learners of their chances of pursuit by registering a great number of technology patents, patent, as I mentioned, and preoccupying resources and key talents. And so this is a very important order, as I reiterated, but the country in pursuit for development really need the strategy for how to overcome these very important challenges. So let me briefly visit the way that the Korea take as a measure for overcoming these difficulties. As the economy grows, it is very much inevitable that difficulties rise from the perspective of financial management. As the foreign currency reservoir is growing, and every country, so to speak, could come across the problems taking place in the management of foreign currencies. It is very much inevitable. Perhaps, in my understanding, determining the success or failure of almost every the developing country in the course of transition to so-called being a advanced economy is whether they can maintain sound financial conditions without going through a deadly the financial crisis, deadly enough to prevent all the possibility for the future being, to be the advanced country in terms of technology, in terms of the other aspect of the social index. Like other developing countries, it was not also easy for Korea to sustain economic growth due to problems such as mounting the foreign debt, unstable the financial market, a volatile labor market, and corrosive the link between politics and businesses, interventions of speculative capital in international financial market, and so on. In the course of the decade of the development, Korea suffered two serious financial crises. One is in 1997, and the other is in 2008. In the aftermath of 1997 Asian financial crisis, Korea recorded a negative GDP rate in 1998 for the first time in the history of its development route. And so shock is really hard at the time. And so many, the people thought that demise will be occur in every sector of the Korean economy. And so it was a real, and also Korea could not but go to IMF for their the relief, the financial assistance for their already very much vulnerable the foreign currency management system. However, Korea responded quickly in dealing with the financial crisis in 1997 and 1998. Following a democratic election, the government carried out industrial restructuring, and the restructuring is really the serious process to the sacrificing the area which is not very much competitive, leave the area, the dying at the end. And other necessary, the possible reform policies together with restructuring action. Ordinary citizens also played a huge part in overcoming this financial crisis with their persistent persistent work ethic, which I mentioned earlier several times, and their cooperation with the government reform policies often demanded personal the sacrifice without exception. The sacrifice that I remember in 1997 was the gold selling. The picture that you saw in the slide is the one, the picture that represents the phenomenon that's taking place. In order to secure, let me briefly explain the picture. In order to secure the depleted the foreign currency, mostly US dollars, in the face of a sharp decline in the value of Korean currency, which is called Korean won, a lot of ordinary the citizens have shown a small but very big contribution, small in size, big in spirit contribution, and sacrifice by selling their small amount of gold in their house, even very small size gold rings for their children at a very low price for the participating and for joining the common effort by the government, by the companies to overcome the financial the crisis, which hit hard all over the country. In the case of 2008, the subprime mortgage, which has taken place initially by the United States, the financial this instability, with previous lessons in mind, the Korean government minimized the negative impact with preemptive decisions to prevent speculative foreign investment and increase currency swaps as the policy for preparation with key foreign currencies, including US dollar and including the Japanese yen and including the European euros. However, some scholars pointed out that the negative areas persist in Korea, such as the growing gap between the rich and the poor, big conglomerate, and oriented economic structures, and antagonistic employer the labor relations. It is all homework to be dealt with by the government and by the companies for the better economy. But the overall the trend is pretty and positive. The upper cup for the right direction, and so I think we have also the many potentials to be left for the better economic situation for the future. And next is the transformation, industrial transformation, to be to come up with before the developing state. In short, the path of Korean economic development can be explained as shown in the slide. As many of you major in development economics and just economics the financial the studies may well understand what it's like. The Korea has made the several stages of economic policy, the changes to achieve industrial transformation and sophistication, which brings technological intensive and capital intensive industry available in the ground. So now conventional heavy industry become the key foundation for letting the country be familiar to the fourth industrial revolution by thinking that the conventional industry, if the conventional industry be combined with the cutting edge IT technology, and we call it just force the product of post industrial revolution, because the automobiles, for example, automobiles are very much conventional in terms of the perspective of the product and manufacturing product is mentioned, but if automobile technology, mostly based on the mechanical technology, to be combined with IT technology, then we call it just the without people self-driving car as one of the main product of post-industrial revolution. And so it is very important for the country how they are well equipped with a conventional one, with the combination of IT, high-tech, the IT technology. So that in that regard, the top technology that Korea had developed so far as a leader, like the smartphones and the AI-based appliances and digital banking, mobile communication, and Internet of Things. All those are the industry, regarded as the futuristic industry, and to be well combined with the conventional the industry that already in the hand will make a more positive impact in terms of the preparation of the future. And so in that regard, as an explanation, the outlook of the Korean, the portfolio of the industry, I am very much sure that all those, the industry, it will contribute the fourth industrial the revolution which will take place near future. To support the companies in the finding the new growth engine during the fourth industrial revolution, the Korean government has implemented the new economic policies. And so it is carrying out innovative and inclusive economy plan, which aims to cut regularly red tape with investing more in the future-oriented technologies, as I already mentioned. The government has focused on sustainable growth at the same time, with the focus of the clean environment and the response to the climate changes, including a better and also with a better distributive the welfare system to overcome the previous the excess of its free market capitalistic policies. And so redistributive the policies also very important before addressing the challenges which will rise from the bipolarization from the perspective of the social policy, and also the growing gap between the riches, between the ordinary people, and also between the riches, between the ordinary people and between the poor. And so all of my presentation so far is just you know, the quick the overview in terms of the economic history of Korea. Now, from 1960s to now. So thank you for the listening my presentation on the economy, and I you know, had prepared some slides for the Korean culture, but I thought that I just took already a long time, and so in order to economize my the presentation, I just skip all this and then going directly to the common the event to be taken already taken or to be taken in cooperation with Bulgarian the government and our Bulgarian partners. This is the logo, which we're now, you know, commemorates our 30th anniversary, and we have many nice art pieces from the applications made by Bulgarian designers and Bulgarian the students in the area of the designs, and we are very much proud to select the top design in the left column on top as our first reward, and the same appreciation made to the other the selected articles, you know, and we are very much thankful and also very proudly use this badge and use this the logo in the many things like cups, small cups, and or many other souvenirs which we make. And Hanshik, the Korean food, along with the Korean pop song and Korean drama and Korean you know, music and Korean the movie and Korean cosmetics. The Hanshik, the Korean food, is one of the representing the item that my embassy has so far made a promotion through in cooperation with BNP1, the biggest national the TV network. We have the collaboration and cooperation with the Uti Batparov, as a chef, master chef, and along with the chef from Korean the residents, Chef Jo Young-gyo, and to make TV series on every Friday, 5 weeks in a row, to present how to make tasteful food for the Bulgarian viewers. And so we thought that the program is very popular, and we are very much proud to be able to reach as many as possible, like, you know, the 500,000 Bulgarian viewers already watch the program. And area K-pop already in popularity, together with Korean drama and Korean movie. Many of them have been already broadcasted by major Bulgarian the TV the networks. And we taking this opportunity, I really expressed my thankfulness to the leadership and management of the TV networks. Another area is I will introduce is Taekwondo, and Taekwondo is Korean the traditional and one of the major sports, and also the sports in the IOC, the Olympic the game, and so we are very much you know, thankful the Bulgarian the Taekwondo team and federation to make the good the presentation and good introduction to the Bulgarian and the people regardless of their age. So this is the picture. And another occasion that we made so far is that the Korean cosmetics and the name of Korean beauty, and many Korean pharmaceutical or cosmetic the companies presented their the goods, which is already get some popularity in every corner of the world, and we have in a good situation in terms of the cooperation with the Bulgarian businessmen for increasing our the chances the collaboration. So this is the area for the cooperation needed. And Korean and the Bulgarian clinic, the exhibition is already taking place proudly in collaboration with Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Republic of Bulgaria, and many other occasions already conducted with the attentions from many Bulgarian people. And so again, I'm really thankful for the attention made by the Bulgarian the colleagues and friends and the citizens for the cooperation and friendship between our the two very promising countries. And thank you for your listening. And there's some kind of questions and comment, and I'm really happy to listen to. Thank you.